24 hours. President Muhammadu Buhari challenges the new governor of Imo State on positive change to take the state to the next level.
The sole objective of man is to live. To live, he needs food, shelter, and clothing. To do so, he must have the means to earn enough.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo solicits support for the needy and vulnerable group, addresses participants of the Nigerian Defense College in Abuja. Federal government inaugurates inter-ministerial and multi-sectoral surveillance committee on coronavirus. Plus, Secretary to the Government of the Federation reiterates Nigeria's willingness to convene regional dialogue on key global issues in the United States for African development. It's another beautiful Friday evening. Thanks for joining us on the news at 9 on Africa's largest TV network. We are broadcasting live in Abuja. I am Jumba Yusuf. Jennifer Igwe is in our Lagos Network Center. Thanks so much for joining us. We begin with President Muhammadu Buhari has poured encomiums on his Ivorian counterpart Alassane Ouattara for leading an inclusive administration and stabilizing the West African nation. This was while granting audience to the outgoing ambassador of Cote d'Ivoire to Nigeria, Touare Kone Mama. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who applauded President Ouattara for the way and manner he has been managing Cote d'Ivoire, said his inclusivity, generosity of mind and patriotism are paying off. The Ivorian leader, he also said, has been genuinely supporting Nigeria whenever the need arises and therefore wished him the best of luck in the forthcoming elections this year. President Buhari equally commended the outgoing ambassador for her hard work and landmark achievements during her tour of duty in Nigeria. He said it is noteworthy that during her tenure, the Chancery building in Abuja was completed. The Nigeria-Cote d'Ivoire Binational Commission established saw also viable linkages between banks, businesses, and agencies of the two governments now working hand in hand. The outgoing Ivorian ambassador, Touare Kone Mama, described her tour of duty in Nigeria, spanning 7 years, as gainful and very fulfilling. Ambassador Mama said, apart from her tremendous achievements diplomatically, she had also acquired a doctoral degree during her stay in Nigeria, telling President Buhari that she has now become a Nigerian. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari is taxing the new governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, to right the wrongs in governance and take the Eastern Heartland to the next level of development. The president stated this while receiving an audience the APC governor whose mandate was recently restored by the nation's apex court. Again, Adamu Sambo has the details.
Congratulations, Your Excellency.
It was the first formal engagement between President Muhammadu Buhari and the new Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma since the restoration of his mandate by the Supreme Court on the 14th of January this year. Discussions at the meeting, also attended by the APC National Chairman Adams Oshomole, centered on the task ahead in the governance of the state. President Buhari applauded the governor for starting well, saying, however, that the Eastern Heartland must be restored to its past glory and taken further to greater heights in line with the next level agenda of the governing APC.
I certainly wish you the best of luck. It has been very tough. We have been very competent, and please God has given you success.
Thank you for providing the enabling environment and that has enabled justice at the end of the day to prevail. And also to assure you that I understand the policies of this government and what you stand for, consistent to the manifesto of the party, to give our people good governance and by extension the dividends of democracy. I'll do my best, God's willing, not to disappoint the expectations of my people.
Addressing newsmen shortly after, Governor Uzodimma was emphatic that he fully understood not only the huge public expectations but also the challenges confronting the state, saying, however, that he will not abdicate his responsibilities.
My mandate is about the people. My government will just be about the people. And by the grace of God, I will not disappoint their expectations. And I'm sure they will see good governance from a man with experience, working in consultation with political stakeholders in the state. I think we can do it differently, and the narrative will be acceptable to the people. We are going to stimulate the economy and bring life back to our people. That will bring prosperity to the state.
And of course, President Buhari is very excited. We have re-established our foothold in the heart of the Southeast. And it coincides with the president's vision of uniting the country. And now we can truly say that we not only control the center, we have governors in each of the 6 geopolitical zones. And that, I believe, is good for our party. I also believe is good for the government.
The new APC government in Imo State takes pride that in just 17 days, stability has been restored in the governance of the state and concrete steps taken towards breaking the jinx of developmental stagnation for genuine prosperity. Governor Uzodimma said 25 out of the 27 members of the State Assembly have already defected to the governing APC, which had none before his coming to power. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In another development, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has emphasized the need for government at all levels to support the needy and the vulnerable, as this will galvanize expected results on efforts to grow the economy and lift the people out of poverty. He stated this while addressing participants of the Nigerian Defense College Course 28 in Abuja. State House correspondent Jide Onifade tells us more.
Governments all over the world, as Vice President Yemi Osinbajo notes, now focus on the needs of the people as a form of security, as against the old belief that national security is the protection of the people from external and internal aggression only.
The sole objective of man is to live. To live, he needs food, shelter, and clothing. To do so, he must have the means to earn enough. Where the means are unavailable, his natural instinct is to survive. And of course, that brings about desperation and alienation from society, which makes him potentially a risk to the community.
Latest actions of the Nigerian government in providing decent living for the people, the Vice President explains, is the focus on the private sector towards addressing the challenge of unemployment. Government, he stresses, must provide infrastructure and enabling environment for the private sector, as the Buhari administration is presently doing.
The main policy challenge which we have will be to shape our national security calculus, both now and in the future, to that of creating social and economic opportunity on a scale that not only matches our population growth rate, but also the aspirations of our people, especially the young people. Improving human capital development, especially education, and providing more opportunities for earning a living will reduce the number of young persons available for recruitment into the ranks of Boko Haram and ISWAP and terrorists of that nature.
And as the Vice President says, man is central to the development of the nation, pointing out how young men and women are being supported by government, and the result of which he says is the incredible performance by them, and are now occupying space which was long left unoccupied. Course 28 was inaugurated on the 23rd of September 2019. From the National Defense College in Abuja, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Still on the economy, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo received a delegation of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, led by its president, Toki Mabo Gunje. The meeting looked at the state of the Nigerian economy and the progress government has made so far, as well as what is left to be done in conjunction with the private sector to move the country forward. Among issues the meeting spoke about include the infrastructure deficit, which government is already in partnership with the private sector to address. The delegation commended commended government and called for encouragement for participation of more investors. The meeting discussed the revival of the presidential dialogue and the quarterly business policy briefing programs, which the delegation described as good opportunities for the business community to interact with the government on the issues of economy.
VAT policy issues that one, we recognize that government has revenue constraints and that the VAT issue that has just come up is an attempt by government to raise more capital for itself. However, we feel that that money should be directed towards filling that infrastructure gap, that infrastructure deficit. That if that money is now taken and applied towards that, that in itself will bring some relief to taxpayers in terms of having better infrastructure to run their businesses, and it will increase our rating on the ease of doing business. Can't stop. We can't rest on our oars. Nigeria must be made a better place. We all want to thrive. We want our businesses to do very well.
Now to health matters. The federal government will soon launch emergency contact response with a view to controlling outbreak of diseases in the country. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Emmanuel Ehanere, dropped this hint during a visit to Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital to receive a first-hand information on the recent Lassa virus outbreak that claimed the lives of 2 doctors in the hospital. Yahanasu Hassan Barrow was there for NT News and files in this report.
The minister's visit to Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital is to commiserate with government and people of the state over the demise of 2 doctors, Dr. Habib Musa Muhammad, a consultant anesthesiologist, and Dr. Kulthum Abba, a house officer who died after they contracted Lassa virus in the course of discharging their duties. This development has provided a springboard for the federal government to take far-reaching measures in curtailing the disease outbreak.
No one should panic. Those who are responsible for looking into the occurrence of this disease are working and for detection, prevention, and also response.
More than 100 people are now under close supervision to prevent further spread of the disease.
Classify as high-risk category. It will be plus on medication. That medication will prevent development of the disease itself. At the same time, also will be recording your body temperature just in case the disease will develop again, which is very, very unlikely.
The minister also inspected the intensive care unit at the hospital, equipped with state-of-the-art facility to suit the emerging trend. He also took his time to visit the families of the deceased over the demise of their loved ones and prayed for the repose of their gentle soul. Meanwhile, activities at the Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital resumed fully after a partial closure of some units following the outbreak of Lassa fever. In Kano, Yahanasu Hassan Barrow, NTA.
Now, an interministerial and multi-sectoral meeting has been held in Abuja and a surveillance committee inaugurated to assist in ascertaining the preparedness and response of the federal government to the novel coronavirus, should it be imported into the country. Elizabeth Omorie reports that the Minister of Information and Culture, Laya Mohammed, pledged the support of agencies under the Ministry of Information and Culture.
A statement by the Federal Ministry of Health revealed that, as at Friday 31st of January 2020, more than 9,700 confirmed cases have been reported, mostly in mainland China, and about 100 cases around the world. Fatality has risen to 213, where the epidemic broke out in the Hubei province of China, but no casualty anywhere else. This prompted the World Health Organization to declare the novel coronavirus as a public health emergency.
2 case alerts in Africa, as we heard. Côte d'Ivoire, a young lady who studies in China and arrived back home with symptoms but has tested negative, thankfully. And also one in Kenya whose status is unclear. So there are as yet no confirmed cases in Africa, but the potential has been clearly demonstrated.
We would need a lot of public enlightenment, and this is why I think I would need the help of not just NTA, FRCN, non-involved, but even the private media Also, we need also to let people who travel know that there's need for absolute transparency and absolute honesty when they are filling their forms.
The Ministers of Health and Information and Culture, who reiterated the commitment of the government, called for inclusive and coordinated joint response from the inaugurated team, comprising Immigration Services, Customs, FAN, health institutions, and other agencies. The Minister of Health further disclosed that additional 71 million naira has been provided for ports health services to scale up surveillance and screening activities. Nigerians are advised to improve overall hygiene and report suspicious symptoms to the nearest primary health care center. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
From health matters to diplomatic relations, Nigeria is willing to convene a regional dialogue of African countries to articulate and chart a common position for Africa on key global issues in the United Nations. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, said this when he received Nigerian diplomat and former Under-Secretary of the United Nations, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, in Abuja. Mitari Ekpen reports.
With 54 sovereign states, Africa has more countries than any other continent and is the second largest in size and population after Asia. Nigeria, on her part, is projected to become the third most populous country by 2050. Former United Nations Under-Secretary General Professor Ibrahim Gambari believes these and other comparative advantages and strengths of the continent can be galvanized to pull a greater weight in the United Nations, hence the need for a regional dialogue.
We need to come together to reflect on what is the future we want and the United Nations that we need.
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, says Africa has come of age to redefine its future.
This dialogue that would deal with issues of climate change, population explosion, migration, huge government deficits, internal conflicts, are major issues resonating with the government and with the people of this country. We should not be number 3 only by virtue of numerical figures, but there must be some content and quality in our number that will help us define the future of the world.
The proposed Africa Regional Dialogue is billed for Abuja this year ahead of the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
If you're just joining us, this is NTA Network News. Let's take our first break. Thanks for joining us. We now, from London, we hear that Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has opened talks with his counterpart in the United Kingdom in an effort to fast-track the return of Nigeria's Ife bronze, stolen from the Jos National Museum over 30 years ago. Anthony Fossen tells us more.
The minister, whose visit to the United Kingdom was tied to media engagements, took time out of his tight schedule to visit the United Kingdom's Under-Secretary of State for Culture, Heritage and Tourism, where he presented Nigeria's case. Lai Mohammed, after the closed-door meeting, spoke on the outcome of his meeting, beginning with the brick wall being put up by the Belgian in whose possession the artifact was found while attempting to dispose it.
The object was put on the red list, which means it cannot be traded, it cannot be exchanged, it cannot be bought. So when these items surfaced in the UK, the auction house promptly notified the UK Metropolitan Police, who notified the UNESCO, and we were, notified through our UNESCO permanent representative. And since then, we've been pursuing the return of this artifact to Nigeria.
He, however, said the Belgian government, on its part, isn't making the process easy for Nigeria.
Regrettably, the Belgian authority claimed that they were not a party to the UNESCO Convention at the time this item was bought by a Belgian.
Expressing satisfaction with the meeting, the minister said any form of litigation has been ruled out. For now, Lai Mohammed said, with the cooperation extended to Nigeria by the United Kingdom Metropolitan Police since the matter came up, Nigeria will rely on UK in line with UNESCO's convention as a signatory to return the object to Nigeria under Article 7 of UNESCO Convention, which stipulates that any such objects found in any country which is a member of the convention, diplomatic channels shall be explored to return such objects to the country of source. In London, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Back home, 2 of the 4 Nigerians stranded in Kenya have arrived the country following timely intervention by the federal government. Doyin Dia, who was at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport earlier in the day, reports that 2 others who had delayed due to final documentation will soon reunite with their families.
Sometimes last year, there was a message which was going viral about 4 Nigerians who were being maltreated in Kenya. Quick enough, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission swung into action, liaising with the Nigerian High Commission in that country. They found out that these Nigerians actually overstayed in that country, and as a result were picked up by the Kenya immigration. As such, they were detained and jailed for 6 months.
Well, like you said, it's a case of overstay of visa, which is a crime in Kenya. 6 months imprisonment or $2,500 fine. And when we talked with the High Commission, they made it clear to us that that was actually the fact. We agreed to help them out.
Yeah, I'm really happy for the government intervening. Yeah, I'm really happy. At least now I'm back home.
Well, I left Nigeria 2017 to take a short program, security management, in Kenya, until I was later arrested and sentenced 6 months in prison for unlawfully present in Kenya.
He reached us out via social media, and then he was talking about the situation in Kenya, how he's currently in depression and about to take his own life. So we had to raise awareness immediately when we heard about the situation, and we reached out to NIDCOM via a phone call, and that was how everything just started.
One message that the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission is sending is the fact that Nigerians must always get their documentation intact before embarking on any trip outside the shores of the country, as this is just one too many. In Abuja, Doyin Dia, NTA News.
My thoughts exactly, Doyin, and in a way of showing deeper commitment to transforming the nation's civil service for better efficiency, the acting head of the civil service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi Esan, is partnering the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. She made the commitment while receiving members of the project management team of the institute in her office. The partnership between the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management and the civil service borders on design and implementation of performance management systems, support for manpower development, internship programs, and data analysis.
The team you'll be working with have been carefully selected and they are ready to work.
The collaboration is expected to commence next month and end in December. Now, the federal government has commenced the mop-up of excess food items in circulation, especially grains, with a view to stabilizing the price of food items. The food items are being stored in the federal government's strategic grain reserves in the country. Musa Baba Aliu reports that the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Muhammadu Sabo Nananu, was in Gusau Zamfara State to inspect the exercise.
It is a 9.4 billion naira project set aside by the federal government to stock the country's silos with assorted food in case of an emergency. This is based on the United Nations recommendation that countries should keep substantial amounts of what will last for at least 3 days in case of an emergency. The food items are to be kept in 6 of the 33 silos, which have the capacity to store more than 1 million tons of grains. This grain reserve located in Gusau is 100,000 metric tons capacity, and it has already been stocked with 23,000 tons of maize and sorghum.
We've been able to mop up almost 54,000 metric tons. We have them here in Zamfara, we have in Lafia, and we have in Mina.
Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Muhammadu Sabo Nanunu, described the initiative as a move to ensure Nigeria is more food secured.
This year, from all indications, we have a bumper harvest, and we are going to study the situation
And if it warrants us intervening again, we will, in order to stabilize the prices at the farm gate as well as in the market.
It is the hope of the federal government that buying of excess grains from farmers will go a long way in boosting their income. From Gusau, Zamfara State, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
To reduce the number of out-of-school children in Abuja, the FCT Minister of State Ramatu Tijani Aliyu has said that a total of 120,300 pupils across the 6 area councils in the territory will be benefiting from the FCT homegrown school feeding program of the federal government. The minister, who made the revelation during the official flag-off of the program in Karo Model School, also revealed that pupils are drawn from the 626 public primary schools across the territory. Ifai Ezumba reports.
The Minister of State, FCT, Ramatu Tijani Aliyu, there flagging up the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, an initiative for President Muhammadu Buhari. This program seeks to provide one free nutritional meal for every primary 1 to 3 pupil in all public schools. The minister observed that the program was designed to improve the health and educational outcomes of public primary school pupils, stressing that the program links local farmers to the education sector by facilitating their access to the school feeding market.
A process of training the head teachers, health teachers, and class teachers in a school is equally in place. These 3 individuals shall be responsible for the day-to-day monitoring of the feeding program in their respective schools.
Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Omar Farouk, noted that the social investment programs of the federal government were designed to achieve the national objective of reducing poverty.
The National Homegrown School Food Program is currently benefiting over 8.6 million pupils in over 56,000 public primary schools in 35 states across Nigeria.
The program is expected to increase the enrollment rates by mopping up the huge number of out-of-school children in Nigeria while tackling school-age malnutrition. As part of the value chain, the program also empowers the cooks and provides a sustainable income for smallholder farmers. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Ezumba, NTA News.
As part of its empowerment program, the Dangote Foundation, through its micro grants program, disbursed 340 million naira to 54,000 disadvantaged women selected from all the local government areas of Katsina State. Awal Haliru reports that each of the beneficiaries received 10,000 naira empowerment grant during a colorful ceremony held at Batagrawa local government area of Katsina State. The report.
The micro grants program is one component of the economic empowerment pillar of Aliko Dangote Foundation, which provides vulnerable women with unconditional 10,000 naira cash transfer to boost their household income generation and improve their socio-economic status. The empowerment, being a nationwide exercise by the foundation, is targeting women across the 774 local government areas of the country to reduce their difficulties and enable them live with relative ease.
Chairman of the
foundation, Aliko Dangote, said so far about 360,000 women benefited from Kano, Lagos, Jigawa, Kogi, Adamawa and Borno states. Others are Yobe, Niger, Sokoto and Nasarawa.
In the coming weeks, we'll be proceeding to Kebbi, Zamfara, Edo and Osun State to conduct similar programs. By the time we are done with these next 4 states this year, we will be almost at about 60% with the program.
This juncture, I wish to extend appreciation to the government and the entire people of the state. The Aliko Dangote Foundation for supporting the people of the state, alleviating poverty and uplifting their economic status.
Group Executive Director, Commercial and daughter of the chairman, Halima Dangote, said the foundation is repositioned to uplift social status of women in the country.
Expectation is for them to invest it and do something to help the family, the kids, everyone.
Managing Director and Chief Executive of the foundation, Zuera Yusuf, said in addition to economic empowerment, the foundation is aimed at improving the healthcare system and education of the beneficiaries. In Katsina, Awal Haliru, NTA News.
This is NTA Network News. Jennifer is in our Lagos Network Center with more reports on NTA Network News. Hello, Jenny.
Thank you, Jumai, and welcome to Lagos. Our first story is an update on the Balogun Market fire. Now, 3 days after the unfortunate fire incident that destroyed 10 buildings and goods worth billions of naira, the affected traders are yet to come to terms with their losses. Adeola Komi Akere reports.
Scores of affected traders and sympathizers were spotted looking helpless. Just as the grief, scavengers were going round the structures picking metals and other useful items to make bricks business. Definitely, one man's loss is another man's gain. The jobs of the emergency responders have not ended at the market as they continue to curtail the fire in one of the buildings which was still burning after the third day.
My wife just went to the market and he brought him some goods, and the goods were all destroyed in the warehouse.
I don't have a job, I came to do business, and everything is gone down in a day.
In the face of tribulations, all eyes are on government. Little wonder, the affected traders call for assistance from the authorities.
We don't have any way of survival. Please, if the government will help us, let them help us so that they will put things in order.
Provide a place for a generator, a place for transformer. Put maintenance there. Nobody will go to that place except that maintenance person. Finish.
From all indications, the fate of some of the affected structures is still hanging in the balance, since their demolition is definite if they fail integrity tests. With the dry season intensifying, there is a renewed call to all to take preventive and proactive measures to stop incessant fire outbreak in Lagos, which has become a recurring decimal in recent times. In Lagos, Adeola Komi Akere, NTA News.
And to drug law enforcement, 100 tons of drugs and psychotropic substances have been destroyed by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency as part of its strategic efforts to addressing the drug menace as well as promoting national security and health of the citizens. Imole Ayotokede reports that the exercise was carried out in the command's premises at Ibereko, Badagry.
This mountain of forfeited drugs contain 770 kilograms of cocaine, 272 kilograms of heroin, 8,278 kilograms of tramadol, 54,385 kilograms of cannabis, and 2,281 kilograms of cat. 1,071 kilograms belongs to methamphetamine, ephedrine, and other psychotropic substances. They are exhibits seized by various commands and units of NDLEA formations in Lagos. According to the chairman of NDLEA, Colonel Muhammad Abdallah, Lagos State is filled majorly with youths, which contributes immensely to the high rates of drug abuse.
This is one major area Lagos State government can intervene by supporting the NDLEA to build the center in order to enable these drug-dependent persons to live a productive life once again.
My organisation, the National Crime Agency, are fully supportive of the NDLEA in what they do.
The exercise, which signifies the final stage of case handling after which suspects involved have been convicted, was carried out after foreign collaborators and sister security agencies had signed the certificates to commence destruction. The agency further appealed to the public to identify with its efforts to curb the menace by staying away from drug trafficking, drug abuse, and other acts that are injurious to the society. In Lagos, Molayo Tukide, NTA News.
Thank you, Molayo. Time for business news, and Abolade Salami is on standby. Abolade, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Jennifer. There are lots of news happening in the world of business, but tonight we'll start.
The federal government has reduced its domestic borrowing plans to 60% in order to accommodate more private sector borrowing. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed said the country is operating on a 35% external borrowing as well. Working out seriously to cut down its borrowing plans, most especially from the domestic market, owing to its high rates. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed said the government eased off its borrowing plans from 80% domestic and 20% external in 2015 to 60% domestic and 40% external to address the country's debt profile.
We are now at about 35 external borrowing. So it means government is easing off borrowing from the domestic market, and the main reason is for government itself to reduce its cost of debt service, because the local loans that we have are higher cost and shorter time, whereas the new borrowings that we're doing externally are lower cost and longer time. So it's reducing our cost of debt service.
Emphasizing on the key priorities of the government, which borders on job creation, sustainable economic growth rates, diversification of the economy, and improvement in foreign direct investment, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo said huge capital has been expended on infrastructure development with a view to creating a viable business environment.
In market access, the federal government will seek to localize at least 40% of the federal government's expenditure on stipulated goods and services and facilitate local market access for Nigerian-made products. In supporting the growth of MSMEs, we are easing access to capital, deploying shared facilities across the country, and facilitating the delivery of tax and regulatory incentives for MSMEs.
Successful private equity firms can play an important role in the rapid development of an economy. And this is what makes private equity so important to Nigeria.
The Private Equity Summit with the theme, Drivers, Disruptors and Unlocking Value, provided an avenue for key players in the money and equities markets to brainstorm on how to drive private equity. And let's talk equities. Investors lose 404.51 billion naira week to date, as the market records another bearish outlook to close the week in negative. Here are details. Market sentiment persists as the all-share index dropped by 0.65% to close at 28,843.53 basis points. Volume of shares traded finished at 348 million, valued at 4.2 billion naira, which traded hands in 4,610 deals, and a market capitalization of 14.8 trillion naira. Boa Cement, Access and O&O closed the week in green, while on the flip side, Stanbic, CAP and Presco were at the losing end. On sectoral performance, all major sectors were in the red line as NSE banking, consumer goods, industrial, and insurance depreciated in figures by minus 1.17%, minus 1.19%, minus 0.06%, and minus 0.37%, except for the oil and gas sector that closed in green, appreciating by 0.36%. And that does it on business news. Jumai in Abuja will be back with the rest of the news after this short commercial break. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Partnership between Sokoto State Government and England jurists is aimed at strengthening the rule of law and, by extension, ensure prudent dispensation of justice in the state. This came to light when a team of English judicial trainees visited Sultan Mohammed Saad at his palace. Sheikh Mohammed Datti reports.
The delegation of the British trainers was led to the Sultan Palace by the State Chief Judge Muhammad Sayyidu Sifawa and the Commissioner of Justice Suleiman Usman's son. The visit is to intimate the Sultan on the partnership of training state judicial officers that include magistrates and law officers. Sultan Muhammad Saad challenged the judicial officers to take advantage of the partnership and ensure prudent dispensation of justice with the fear of God alone. He described justice as a foundation of development of any society.
We need to cast our minds back to where we are. What really are the laws? The law is something that you must do to everybody. So if somebody runs to you with a problem, how can you will help. The law books are there.
Leader of the UK trainers, Helen Grant, described the rule of law as an instrument that goes hand in hand with the nation building. She informed the Sultan of the Azil to assist in training the state judicial officers on the global judicial system.
We believe that the rule of law goes to the heart of any system, and it's all connected with nation building. And I think too personally that it will help to make sure that Africa and Nigeria becomes the next economic powerhouse.
So we're very much here to listen and to hear the areas that you would like to be trained on.
The Sultan later made a presentation of a book on the history of 20 sultans of Sokoto and their contributions. In Sokoto, Shio Muhammad Detti, NTA News.
Still on legal matters, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ruled that the fourth prosecution witness should continue to give his evidence in the ongoing trial of the former Benue State Governor, Gabriel Suswam, and one other for the alleged involvement in fraudulent activities. Suswam and his former Commissioner for Finance, Okolabia Omadachi, are facing a 9th count charge of embezzling 9.6 billion naira Benue State government funds. Olabode Arewa reports.
Prosecution Counsel Rotimi Jacobs, SAN, called the fourth prosecution witness, Abubakar Umar, to give evidence on the alleged involvement of the defendants in the embezzlement of the funds belonging to the Benue State government. The fourth witness, a currency trader in Abuja, gave his oral testimony in Hausa language, detailing how the first defendant, Gabriel Suswam, allegedly deposited 3.1 billion naira into his bank account. The witness said he converted the money into $15.8 million and delivered same to Suswam at his Maitama residence over a period of time. The defense counsel Chinelo Ogbozo and Michael Ajara objected to the witness' move to give additional oral testimony on his earlier statement to the EFCC without the prosecution first of all providing a certified true copy of it. The court overruled the objection on the grounds that under Section 232 of the Evidence Act, it was the duty of the defense to obtain the certified true copy for the purpose of contradicting the witness. The matter has been adjourned to Monday, the 3rd of February 2020. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
You're still watching the network news on NTA. Time to take another break. The news